Welcome back, everybody. My name is Dr. Yasmine Flores, and I am here with you for another episode of the Arts at EPCC. So with me today is a student from Mass Communications, and his name is Chris Gutierrez. Christopher, hello. How are you?
Hi. I'm glad to be here. I'm doing
Yes,
good.
yeah. So, well, welcome to the set. This is George, our plant, and one of your professors named him, Mr. Michael Head, actually named him George.
There you go.
And so, first of all, thank you for being on the show today. I'm very excited to have you because I don't know a whole lot about mass communications. It's sort of the five categories that we have featured here on the show. It's the one that's a little more oddball because it is very divided, right? So mass comm
Yes.
can be journalism, it can be various things, right? To include the radio station as well. But your specialty is cameras, right? And so you brought something with you today. What is this contraption that you have here?
So this is a cinema camera. It's from the cinema line from Sony, the FX3. It's a full frame camera, so it allows us to get, a wide shot and be able to capture everything in frame.
Awesome. And you mentioned earlier that this thing is $4,000.
Roughly, with all the equipment and everything, it adds up.
Yes, it
much,
does.
Yes.
It adds up all right. So that's awesome. And so now tell me a little bit about you and how you were drawn to mass communication.
Actually, for me, when I left the military, I was drawn to mass communication because I've always had a passion for film. And I remember leaving the military, my wife was like, you gotta get a hobby, you gotta do something. You love film, why not try going back to school and doing something in that?
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, that's great, I'm going to give it a try, I'm gonna give it my all. So I did, and the more I learned, the more I just fell in love with the camera. I just wanted to know what was gonna get me more hands-on equipment like this.
Right.
And mass comm was there, and I saw that they had a film production, category for that major, and it just really drawed me in. And then the community, and then being in with a film club, everything just kept on adding on, and the community came together, and I found my place there in mass comm.
That's awesome.
So for me, it was film.
Oh, that's great. I think that's wonderful. So I've been up there, and to kind of tell everybody at home a little bit about where they're located. So mainly at Valle Verde, right? Valle Verde is the main hub for mass comm and a lot of the arts. I think the art department is the only one that is well distributed at all five campuses. So for mass comm, you all are on the second floor of the A building, and you all have these little studios that I was so impressed with, because we in music need some little studios, some little practice rooms. I like to put bugs in people's ears, right?
Yeah.
We need some stuff constructed, right? So anyhow, but there's these nice little rooms that you all can use to record yourselves because they're padded. And then you also have, and you might be able to tell me a little bit more about this because I've been on the tour to see this room. There's a room with curtains that looks a lot like the studio.
There is a room. I mean, right now it's more of a classroom.
Okay.
It's being used as a classroom, but once we are able to get that room cleared out, it would be nice to use it as a studio, because it is a great spot too.
It is. And when I first saw it, I was like, because it just looks like a set, right?
Yes.
Like just with curtains in the background. And so tell me a little bit about the degree and maybe kind of where you are in the degree and the classes that you've had to take and some of the things you've learned in those classes.
Most of the classes that I found interesting along this path is the film appreciation. You take a deep dive into what film is, and then they actually break it down why everything it is in the way in a film. Once you take film appreciation, or you start taking this course, a lot of my professors will say the same thing. They're going to ruin movies for everybody, because you're going to be able to see the flaws in films and pick them up more easily than anybody else. And then at that time, you're just going to be like, man, that killed the magic for me a little bit there. But
you know what? And now that you mention that, and I'm sorry to always sometimes I have a tendency to hog the interviews because I start talking about music again. But I do try to, what it is that I'm trying to relate music to the other disciplines. And now that you mention it, music kind of does the same thing. I don't sell it that way. Maybe I should, because that does sound very intriguing. Like I'm about to destroy music for you. Because there's a recipe to music and there's a recipe to film, right? So tell me, could you share some of these secrets with us today that you've learned when you watch a movie? Let's say, let's pick on the favorite one, Titanic, for example, right? Titanic. My favorite scene. Now, there's a couple of things to look at. And again, I speak from ignorance, okay? But I can kind of be nitpicky with Titanic because in retrospect, when you look at the film now, because that was 25 years ago, 30 almost, when that was filmed. Leonardo DiCaprio, super young at that time, and Kate Winslet. My favorite scene, to quote, is the one where they're frozen in the ocean and they're hanging on to like whatever, like rafts or whatever they can find, and they're just like frozen, and it looks very fake now. Right? Like when you watch it and you're like, that looks stupid. Like you guys aren't dead. What could you kind of tell me, kind of break down, or maybe a favorite film of yours that you could ruin for us? Telling me. Yes.
I don't know if I would want to ruin film.
Right. But like makeup, backgrounds, lighting, or even editing.
There is a film that we've been doing a lot of studying on. It's called, it's the new one that came out by Jordan Peele. It's like a scary film. Don't Look Up, I think it's called.
Okay. He's made several, right, that are scary in the horror genre. And so you're, okay. So tell me a little bit about that.
All the night scenes in that film were shot during the day. Yeah.
How do they make it look like it's nighttime?
In post-production and editing, they will make sure they have to film everything specifically was overcast to get that kind of lighting that you need, that soft lighting. You can't have the hard sun shining through, so you need cloud coverage.
Okay.
So they had to film on certain days only, which made it more stressful for them to get the shots.
Interesting.
And then afterwards, they color correct it in editing, and they'll add effects for it, like day for night, and then they'll change everything to look more natural. But you have to get the lighting correct though first.
Now I have a dumb question. Why didn't they just shoot it at night?
Because it's harder to see what they want. You can't pick up so much at night. You need a lot of lighting. And for them to do that much lighting out there in there, it's just a lot of space. So for what they wanted, they had to get the shots during the day.
That's fascinating. Wow. And I wonder how long they've been doing that, how long that idea has been around.
I think it's been more often nowadays than they have, because back then they did try shooting in light and you see a lot of graininess inside the film, like it looks like static. But now you see cameras like this have more dynamic range, so they can pick up more,
I
depth
see. Okay, that's very interesting. Wow, okay. And so, well, that's fascinating to me. I mean, there's so many things. Let's talk about The Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
So, have you all studied The Wizard of Oz?
I haven't personally yet, but I've seen it enough to...
I'd be curious, and this might be a Michael head question, because he would probably know all about it. I can already hear him going on for 2 hours on The Wizard of Oz. If you don't know this, so it was shot... So the beginning of the movie is all black and white. Then the rest of the movie is all in color. I am trying to remember, and there might be some folks at home that know if it was actually shot in color or if the color was added after the fact. I can't remember. So that film, what is it, 1939?
Around there, 37 or 39.
Yeah, somewhere in there. And so, and now I can't remember. Obviously, when TV showed the movie, so the funny story is, if I recall correctly, Wizard of Oz, now we're going to go off on a tangent. The Wizard of Oz was not very popular when it was in the theater, but it hit popularity when it went to TV. because they started showing it a lot on TV. And then by the 1960s, television had color, right? So before, when they would try to show it, it was all black and white. And so that's what I'm remembering from The Wizard of Oz. But it's a fascinating movie because, yeah, the way it was filmed, you know, never mind all the illegal things in retrospect again that they did, where they had the hot costumes and everything. But as far as, you know, the filming of it and everything, it's brilliantly done. The whole beginning is in black and white, where she's in reality, and then she goes into this, you know, land of magic, and I don't want to call it a wonderland, but yes, Oz. She goes into Oz, and so everything's in color. So speaking of, let me ask you this question: what, when you film, because you film now, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well.
Okay.
What is your preference? Putting somebody in hours and hours of makeup so it shows up more realistically, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, or doing the effects, like the digital effects to it, to make it look as though they're dressed as?
For me, I like it to be more practical. Like I have, like the first film I shot, I wanted the whole character to be painted first, and then we add the effect in afterwards. So that's what we did.
Okay.
And it's just, to me, it adds more authenticity to the shot. And I feel it comes out better because already the actor needs to be more immersed, you know, like if the actor doesn't feel like they're actually blending into their surrounding as being part of it, then nobody's going to believe that they're there. So like if they don't believe it themselves, then they're going to give off, you know, performance that doesn't capture the audience. And for me, I can't see that being the final cut for me. You know, it has to be redone or reshot until we do it the right way.
And I agree with you. I mean, I look back, for example, I was watching Jim Carrey last night, and he was talking about the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, is that right? And so the hours and hours that he spent in the makeup chair, right? And they even had to bring in specialists to talk to him and try to get him to focus because everything was so hot, right? Just having all this hair and everything. So when he was doing a movie like that today, I wonder if some folks would do less, like as far as like the hair and all that, and maybe only tell him to wear green makeup and then add that as a digital effect afterward.
Yeah, I can see both being used just a little bit at the end, you know?
Okay.
Like to accentuate it a little bit more, bring it out more, just add that effect towards it. If there's a way to possibly do that, I think that would be the better way to go.
Right.
But as long as you have the majority of the character in character, then to me that's going to give you the better scene. Right.
Yeah. Of course. Okay. That's very interesting. Now, now let's talk a little bit about your projects, and we're going to start to incorporate this camera that you brought with you and talk about it. So you said that you recently recorded a couple of music videos.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that. First of all, how were you contacted about that?
I work with, sometimes I get internships with Raw Visuals, which is a company from LA that moved back to El Paso. They're from El Paso. He's worked with like artists like Snoop Dogg and you know Kendrick Lamar and all them, and he's done a lot. And I never thought I would like music videos. Like I like the cinema side.
Yes.
And after I went to a workshop and I met him there, he showed me all the stuff that they were doing for music videos and how creative it is and how people just create stuff right then and there because you shoot music videos in one day.
I would imagine, right?
Like the whole day. So if they want a lot done, it's going to be that one day.
Wow.
You're doing everything. And I've shot in multiple locations, but music videos for me was very creative. It helped you get out of that, natural, format where you're just behind the camera doing either a dolly or you have it on a tripod. No, this one you have to get creative. You have to think more about moving lights, choreography. Right. Is it going to match the music? Are you shooting at the right speed, frame rate, stuff like that? And
interesting. And so you bring that up. So I'll pick Billie Eilish, right? and I cannot remember the titles of these songs, but you might remember them. There's a video where she's in it's like a yellow pantsuit, right? And she busts through the wall, okay? So, and of course, if I don't, so you have they'll tape a little bit, but it's constantly moving shots, right? So like they might take a shot of, I don't remember if it's her brother in the video, but there's a gentleman standing there, and then it'll flip to her, and then it'll flip to somebody else, and then it'll flip to the guy standing in a row, right? And then it'll flip to her on the little Hot Wheels, and so when you sync it with the music, what is the process for that?
It's to make sure that you follow the tempo of the music. You know, if the music has to change at any point, then the shot should be the thing that changes, not the music, because you want everything to sync with the music. And when you're doing things like that too, and you're editing, it's all about the transition and timing when the beat falls to be in, you know, to give more of the impact. You have to know which scenes they're going to have. Like if you do a moving shot, you want to do it probably when there's like an arch during the music, I guess, the notes.
Right, of course,
like where there's a long note, like there's a couple beats, I guess. That way it can match up. And then the faster ones are more, you know, choppy, like I believe it's called, I don't know the term when you sing. I used to be in choir. Okay. And now I'm like going to embarrass myself. Like staccato or
staccato is a shorter note.
Yes, there you go. So with the shorter notes, then you would have to give the faster, you know, clips. You know?
Okay, that's interesting. And so you mentioned something, and so from the EPCC perspective, let's advertise a little bit for music as well. Mr. Towns' class, the MUSC 1331, where it's MIDI 1, they essentially record their own tracks, right? There's also the MIDI 2 class, the MUSC 2355. I have to plug all these classes.
Oh yeah.
And so when they record their own music, and then they take the track to you, which on average the music is usually 3.5 to 5 minutes would be a long song, right? They used to be on average 4 minutes. So they take this to you. What kind of information, do they give you the information right off the bat, or do you have to sit there and listen to it and kind of guess?
Lately I've been guessing. I'll listen to it, fill it out, and then if we already have the scene shot, then I'll bring it in. If not, then I try to plan out the shots myself. Okay,
interesting. Have you done any music videos where it's acoustic, where it's like live recording, and you'd have to do the video for it?
Not yet. Okay. I have not yet. Okay. We had a workshop for the film club where they did do a music video, but I wasn't there for that. I wasn't able to be there for that, but I was able to help get that going, though.
Sure, that's awesome. And so because the thing I'm thinking of, because you mentioned tempo. With electronic music, that's very easy to control. Everything's on the computer. So you tell a computer, okay, I want to go 120 beats per minute, right? And the computer will make it consistent. If you put in any kind of recorded things, usually the musician will see where it lands, right? And so there might be specific tick marks. And so you, as the videographer, it's always been a hard word for me, videographer.
Or cinematographer.
Oh, fancy. I like that word instead. The cinematographer has to come in, and it's probably much easier if you see the click track, right? And then like I said, with any video, Madonna, Billie Eilish, Katy Perry, whoever it is, and you can go, okay, and I don't know if you see it as the peaks, like if it shows you that way, like there's a big peak here, and then it seems to last for a long time. Like you said, it's a long note that's held out, so we can do a pan shot. You can, that's really awesome. I would love to come and watch you guys do this one day, because you mentioned it is all kind of a recipe. Right.
It is, and it's a little bit of every department too, because we have the sound guys there doing with the boom mics, and then we have other artists actors are there as well. They feed in, they help. We can't do what we do without the actors as well.
Of course,
so there's a lot of sound and audio working together to do the script writing as well. They're there to help us come up with the ideas and fine tune the script. So everybody comes together and we make something happen at least.
That's awesome. So What is the worst, I guess, what is the biggest nightmare you've ever had to deal with?
Running out of camera batteries when we have to turn in the camera the next day. So the camera battery runs out really quick on the other cameras we have. Not as quick. I mean, with camera batteries, you get about 2 to 3 hours. But when you're filming and you're trying to do 8 to 12 hour day to get everything done in one day, it doesn't. It's like you have to have multiple batteries, and sometimes, yeah, they run out.
Okay, and how do you save things on this?
SD cards or CFSA cards. There are different cards on here. Transfer them over to our computers, and then we'll put them into a hard drive and share them with everybody else.
So when the battery starts to run out, you save what you have, or maybe it automatically saves.
It automatically saves.
Okay, and then you turn it off, you change out the battery, and you want to use the same camera. Is that right? So you don't have like a set of these, like
No,
5 or 6 of them that you could go, okay, well, just grab the third one, and then switch over to that. So would you say that there's even discrepancies between 2 cameras that are the same brand, same?
Yes,
Okay.
depending on what you're trying to do. I mean, if it's an older camera, depending on the settings, it may not be able to shoot the same quality as this one, so it's going to look different in post.
Got it. Okay. All right. In post-production. So, okay, I'm learning so much. So you use a camera like this. How many cameras do you use for, let's say, a short film?
I think the last production we had about 3 cameras there. 2 were helping record the action, and then 1 was for behind the scenes.
Okay. When you say behind the scenes, so you're going to focus on the mountains, or what do you?
Documenting the crew working on the scene. Showing how we do the lighting, how everything's set up.
Okay. Okay.
So
Interesting.
the production side.
Okay. Got it. Okay. And so 2 are action. So the action ones are, and I'm thinking the old camcorders. Remember the big old cameras from the 1980s?
Yeah.
I have a funny story to tell, and now I'm trying. Pat Ebert. Pat Ebert was the producer here at EPCC TV for, I want to say, more than a decade, possibly more than 2 decades. I don't know if he came from another institution and started working here, or maybe he started here. Anyhow, very nice man. But one day he was telling me about taping, and he said, well, when the cameras moved to the camcorder, suddenly it was like, suddenly it was opening a lot of possibilities for them. And he spoke of it. It was so funny. He spoke of it as though it would happen yesterday, because I guess to him he'd been working in that for so long. And he'd seen the history just, right in front of his eyes from. So I take it, did they start off as essentially like what we're staring at right now?
No, definitely not. They didn't start off like this. You started off with your actual film, your real rolls, so literally spinning the shot.
That's right. Yeah. Wow. So So if you all have ever seen some old movies where and especially in the old movie theaters, they used to literally use those huge rolls, right?
Yes,
they
exactly.
would, yeah, and then they would feed the film in and then start running the movie, right? So it was filmed on that. What decade is that? What part of the century is that?
You're looking at 1917 to
wow,
the 1920s, around there.
So like King Kong.
Yes, or Citizen Kane a little bit after that.
Oh, wow. Okay, got it. Interesting. Yeah, and so when did it finally graduate to something more like this?
I want to say it had a big rush. The camera started moving more in the 80s and 90s to the camcorder phase that you said, the big ones, and then recently there's been a downsize of cameras, because I know that they've gone from this to these little square boxes now, and then you just attach everything to it and build out your camera. So lately it's crazy how we've gone from big film or film strip cameras to digital, and it's a lot more easier to get what you want and get around with this than having to worry about the film being exposed and everything.
In your motion shots, how do you balance it? In other words, how do you not see the shakiness of like somebody holding, I'm still doing this, because I'm still thinking like 1980s, the home videos, right? So how do you get like the wobble, or is it on a tripod? Is it on wheels? What stabilizes any kind of shakiness?
It depends on the shot that we're trying to go for, because if we're doing hand cam, meaning I'm just holding the cam like this, and we're doing something like running, or it's an intense, or it's like suspense, maybe you want the shakiness in it.
Okay,
but if not, we'll put it on a gimbal, which stabilizes it and makes the shot really smooth.
You're going to put it on a what now?
It's a gimbal.
Gimbal. Okay.
Yes, it's a tool that will attach to the bottom, and it stabilizes the camera on like 2 to 3 axes, depending on which one you get, and it keeps it smooth the whole time when you move. It balances it.
Oh, fancy. Okay. So tell me, how does this compare to, I think it's the Google Pro? Is that what that thing is? The one that, remember a few years ago that I think it was Google that had come out with a camera that you could kind of like film yourself, right?
Like a GoPro?
Thank you, GoPro. Okay. I don't know if it's Google or not, but
I was wondering if it was something I didn't know about. I was like, wow, it's crazy.
No, it's me. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's the GoPro. Yes. So tell me, how does this compare to the GoPro?
I would say the GoPro is not going to have as many settings as you would have on this one.
Okay.
This one will give you a little bit more control than the GoPro.
Okay.
The GoPro is for like quick, fast shooting if you're on the go. This one you can actually set your scene. You can add your own LUTs and everything like that. You can build out this camera rig to be a full cinema camera just like those as well. I don't think you can, and the attachments for it, I don't think you have the same attachments for a GoPro as well.
No, probably not. That's something I could picture, because that would be rather cumbersome if you're walking around with that little thing and then it has all these attachments, right? So, so you said, and I don't know if the cameramen, because the cameramen are obviously sitting here and they're probably biting their tongues because they want to probably chime in and talk about these. But essentially, the camera that's taping us right now is a little bit shorter than me, but it's almost my height. The screen appears to be about yay big, and it's on a huge heavy duty stand. So I don't know if the camera people, Patrick and Jaime, would want to turn the camera real quick to take a look at one of the cameras. But how would you build something like as small as this into something like that?
There's a lot of time and patience.
Yes.
It takes time to just gather everything and then find the right pieces to fit. What works for you,
Yeah.
Because balance over everything is what you want with the camera.
Okay. Let me ask you another dumb question as I'm staring at the camera in front of me. This thing has walls on it. What's that for?
It's you're talking about, it's the shadow box, right? So it's to limit the light that's going to go into the aperture in the front. So it helps you control what's hitting the camera.
Oh. So I'm trying to remember, like, when I take photographs, for example. And then sometimes the sides of the photograph are very, like, white, right? Is that what that is, essentially?
To the best of my knowledge right now, I believe so.
Okay.
It is, but definitely to control overexposure from the sun or any other kind of lighting that you're using.
Okay.
Usually it's used mostly outside, but I guess in here you have the bright lights up here, so and they're hard lights, so
yes, they are.
It could probably overexpose, so that would help it from hitting the camera and blinding the shot. Right,
yes, and actually I have to make sure that I don't look up at that light right up there, because then I look back down at you and I just see green spots all over the place. So that's very interesting. So now you said you've shot some music videos, you kind of dabbled in that, but your first love is cinematography, and so tell me about some of the movies that you've shot. How long are the movies?
They're not that long.
Okay.
They're about 12 minutes a piece, maybe.
Yeah.
Student film projects, so a lot of student films. A lot of students from the film club help me make these projects.
Yes. And you mentioned, so now let's talk about the film club. So the mass communication department has not only the radio, which is Pulse, right? The
Yes,
Pulse Radio
Pulse
Club.
Radio.
They also have the film club. And you said anybody can join the film club as long as you're a student at EPCC.
Yes, correct.
That's awesome. And so tell me how, like the course of the meetings, because obviously if I'm Joe Schmo and I'm from, hypothetically, music, right? And I'm like, hi everybody, I don't know how to handle this thing. What is your, like, do you all have like an introductory meeting to talk about the equipment, don't break it, etc.?
As far as the equipment that the film club has is limited.
Okay.
It's usually just what we can bring to what everybody else brings
Got it.
to it.
Okay. Yeah.
We do borrow the boom mics and stuff like that from the school, and they do have certain cameras that are good for like journalism, but not for cinematography, like cinema line, you know? So
what is the difference between that?
It's just the range. I guess those are not even, I don't believe they're not full frame lenses, so you can't get a wide shot as well. And then with the ISO range, you can't have it. It's limited. It's a very limited, constricted camera. You can't change much about it.
So let me break down what I'm asking you, because so you're saying for journalism, do they film videos, or are these just pictures?
They film video at different speeds. So when it comes to like more of a cinema look, you want to shoot like at a lower frame rate, like at 24, roughly around there. And for
24 frames per minute, question mark?
24 frames per second.
Oh, that's still pretty fast. Okay. It's like, that's a slow film, right? Okay. So, okay, wow, 24 frames per second. And that brings me to another question, but before I jump to my Days of Our Lives question, I will mention the film club. Who do they contact? Is that Michael?
It would be, yes, either Michael Head, he would be the club advisor, myself, I'm the club president.
Oh, nice.
And we meet every day on Tuesday at 3:30 in room 27A, or the A2706. There you go.
A2706. Okay, every Tuesday.
Yes.
At 3:30, A2706.
Yes.
Okay. And so as the fall is approaching, if those of you out there would be interested in joining the film club, you have a nice president here who can kind of show you the tricks of the trade, right? So yeah, please join them, A2706, check it out. Here's my Days of Our Lives question. Because I'm just gonna pick your brain now. I love Days of Our Lives. I haven't watched it lately. It's gotten stupid. I hope NBC doesn't come after me. But here's my question. When Days of Our Lives in the 1990s, there was a few times that they did an evening show. And it was to kind of try to help get more audience to the daytime show. And the nighttime one looked way different. I was like, why does this look like, suddenly it looked like ER instead of like regular Days of Our Lives? What was that all about? Was that the lighting? Was that because it was the same lighting, but like I can't explain it. I was like, why does it look different?
They were shooting at either a different frame rate, like I said earlier, because when they shoot soap operas or they shoot journalism, they'll shoot at a higher frame rate, like 30 frames per second.
Okay.
So there's more pictures there in the frame, so you get more of a cleaner, crisp image. When it comes to film and you shoot at 24, there's a little bit of motion with everything, so it looks a little bit smoother. And everything blends a little bit better. It's not as crisp, it's not as clean, but it's that look that everybody, kind of just pairs with cinematography when you see in film. You're like, that, I know that look, that's film.
Right. So. And so, like, for example, I'll pick KTSM, right? Or KVIA, whomever. So when you're watching a news broadcast, but then when you watch Jurassic Park, right? Totally different. And so it all has to do with the amount of frames per second?
Yeah, the frame rate that they're recording at, and their settings on the camera too as well, to match the lighting as well. But mainly the frame rate will change how it looks as well.
Oh. So. We should do 10%.
10%.
Just everything's very smooth, right?
Well, and that could be a bad thing too, because like slow motion, when you do things slow-mo, if you don't have enough pictures there or content there in between, like, it's going to look choppy. It looks like stutter.
Right. That's what I'm picturing. I'm thinking to myself, this is going to start to, wait, where to go that slow, right? So, okay, wow. You answered a lifelong question about Days of Our Lives.
There you go.
That I just kept wondering about. Like, I was like, wow, how did that look different 30 years ago? Okay, so that's very fascinating. The Film Club, Comm. Tell me a little bit about, so you did mention earlier the first class, which was
film appreciation.
Film appreciation. And film appreciation is one of the appreciation courses that can be taken. So here's my plug for all the appreciation courses. We've got music appreciation, theater appreciation, dance appreciation, art appreciation, and film appreciation. Is that the only appreciation class in Comm?
Well, you said
I think it is.
Probably.
Okay, okay. Now, what else have you taken?
We have digital video production 1 and 2.
All right.
Intro to Comm. Currently doing that, and already done the other ones. But
what do you do in Intro to Comm?
Intro to Comm, it tells you, I guess you could say, the structure of mass communication, how it's grown, the history of it, how it's gone from stone tablet writing to passing information to mass printing to moving to the digital age, where you now you see you can get your news or your information from any platform now.
Right.
So
right.
It's out there. It's easier for you. It's gone from something that was hard and that was more exclusive, and it turned out to be available to the masses over time.
Right. And so that's Intro to Comm. And then you mentioned the video, say it again, digital video?
Digital video production.
Digital video production. Is there a precursor to that class, a prerequisite?
I think it's both those, film appreciation and Intro to Mass.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So they do that first, and then they get you into the 2 courses. So in that digital video class, this is where you learn about the trinkets. Yes, and also the microphones.
Yes, and how everything works together.
Okay.
And how even the editing process afterwards, like how do you take this film and make it look like it's supposed to be? What
is the end project?
The end project? You mean like the story?
That's like the final exam. Like, is there a project that is? I'm picturing if I taught the course that it would be like a little 5-minute movie or something like that.
It's your own creative thing, but yes, it's like a 5 to 6 for your project for that class would be 5 to 6 minutes. You could do a short film, an interview, a promotional video for a business locally.
Oh, nice.
Which I think a lot of people do. They do that. It's freelance for them. They just go out and they help a business locally, and they give them and they'll post their stuff online.
Yeah, that's really cool. So if any businesses out there are interested, maybe you want to contact the president of the film club, right? So so that's really awesome. And so they're doing 5 to 6 minute videos. When you do those videos, do you all contact anybody like from theater for the script? Or do you all write your own scripts?
Mostly everybody's been writing their own scripts.
Okay.
I think that's also one of the, it's also in digital video production, you have to learn how to write a script, read a script, and mark it.
Oh, wow. That's really awesome. Do you take, in that AA degree, do you take any classes in entrepreneurship or as you mentioned marketing as well. So is there a marketing course or advertising?
Yes, there's advertising courses you can take. And they'll teach you how to promote yourself, where to promote yourself, how to keep yourself relevant, why there's certain, even color comes into play of how you market yourself, you know? There's certain colors that attract certain, crowds and give people certain emotions. So even in a music video or a picture, you can say a lot just by the colors you put it behind.
Tell me more about this, since we're doing an hour special.
Okay.
Because I'm always fascinated by color. And so I've had the art folks on here. Frank Rimbach has been here to tell me about especially color coordination, because we've all discussed how I play it safe. I do black with a color. That's all I know. I'm not going to be dangerous. Unless I did have Isadora Stowe one time, who was doing a pattern with a pattern. And that was bold to me, because I would have been so afraid, because there were two different patterns. Okay. And I was like, how did you do that? I mean, it looked good. And I was like, I was trying to figure out how she did that. So colors. I do advertisement. I do posters for the music department at EPCC. And sometimes I use Canva. And Canva's a piece of cake. They do it for you. Yeah. Merry Christmas, right? Like, you're like, there you go. You figured it all out. But sometimes I do them on Publisher, and so then it's up to me to either find one of the Microsoft given color palettes, right? Or I'll make up my own color palette, usually going with the EPCC colors, the teal and purple, which I have on today. My little mustache. This is the Tejano Jack mustache, and my purple. So, question, colors. Red.
More dark, ominous, angry feeling, mood.
Dark, ominous, red. Really? Is that for different reds? Is that like a darker red?
You can get like I would say for a darker red, it'd give more of an angry vibe. A brighter one would give more of an energetic vibe. Okay. So the brighter it is, it's like more energetic. The darker it is, it seems like it's just trying to create shadows.
More brooding. Interesting. I love maroon.
Oh yeah, maroon's great.
I think it's a beautiful color. Looks great on me. So that's interesting. And then the orangey red, which is that brighter red, which I do also like, and it is. But I guess it's very energetic. Yellow.
I think yellow's calming in a way.
I think yellow's okay.
Happy, soothing.
Okay.
It kind of transforms the scene into just being like that sunny day kind of feel. Okay. And if you get it a little bit darker, it's more warm. So like it's like cozy, like you're gonna be by a fire or you're reading a book.
Oh, interesting. And so let's be more specific. Canary yellow. Yeah, that's the yellow I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm like canary yellow, really. So canary yellow, but when you darken canary yellow, it starts to turn into a mustard, right? More of like a Dijon mustard color. I can see the Dijon being more calming, as you said, more fireplace, because it's a fall color. Yeah. The Dijon mustard is more of a fall. And then the canary yellow is more spring, as you're saying, bright sunny day. What about, now I have to be very specific, like this green right here. What effect does that have on people?
I think it gives you like openness. Because you see green outside, so whenever you bring it in a building, it like creates depth to the room, but opens it up a little bit more too, because you're like, wow, it just adds something more to look at. Yes.
I dragged this plant in probably about the third or fourth episode of the show, because it was over in the green room, and they were originally just going to use just these curtains as the backdrop. And I was like, it felt so empty to me. And so I was like, I must fill the void. And the original plan, my plan in my head, which I don't think I ever discussed with the producer, this will come as a surprise to him, was I wanted to add more plants. I wanted more jungle plants. Okay. Like, I don't know why, but in my head, I was like, yes, I'm going to add. And so he was kind of puzzled, in even just the one plant. And actually, no, I take that back. They were going to put 2 plants. And then it just started to get a little too weird. It started to, feel like you were at Michael's or something, right? Like you're just looking at the scenery, the greenery.
Or behind two ferns.
Right. Yes, with Zach Galifianakis. Exactly. I didn't want to do that. Yeah. So that's so fascinating. So when you're taping a movie or any kind of film, and you're looking at, do you ever add color, like overall color, like one would on a poster, for example, where you're wanting to kind of warm up the scene? Do you add pink? Do you, tell me a little bit about that.
When I use lighting on my camera, I have a light attachment here. If I want to add different colors to it, and I want to assist, bring out the character's mood, I'll change the color for it. So if I have somebody that I want to play as evil, I'll change the color camera to red or magenta and bring it in post-production. I'll bring the color back in. So it won't look like it when I'm filming, but the idea is there. I'm going to use this to get a hue, and then in post-production, I'm going to bring that color back in and make it red surrounding that character only.
Oh, whoa, yeah. That's kind of cool. So now I'm going to start to pay attention to that in movies and see if if I can detect it, because it's probably pretty subtle.
It's subtle.
Yeah. Yeah. How funny. So can you give me an example of movies that use that? Ooh. I'm trying to think as well.
Well, they use a lot all together in moving shots. I know you've pretty seen in scary movies too. That's a lot. Yeah. A lot of scary movies have those slow moving shots where the camera moves up slowly to the character or the villain, and then the room just darkens and the shadows get deeper and stuff like that. That's just playing with lighting while moving the camera. So sometimes you don't just need to move the camera or settings or nothing. It's all done with the lighting to get what you need.
Oh, how interesting. That's really fascinating. And do you study Alfred Hitchcock?
I don't study him right now, but I have studied him, and the Psycho, the first one, a lot too, and a lot of that he used. When I made my film, I took a lot of inspiration from what he did as far as build the suspense, because to me, that's what I took away from when I looked into his work. Those are the best
scary movies.
Yes.
Like Misery, right? Misery with Kathy Bates. Okay. Oh, if you don't know Misery with Kathy Bates, you need to go and watch Misery with Kathy Bates. It's fantastic.
I'll add it to the list.
It's a Stephen King movie. And, it's based on, obviously, his book, right? I'm I could go and read the book, or I'll just watch the movie. But my favorite scene is she has a little OCD. That might be, the biggest understatement. She has a bunch of figurines on a table, and James Caan is in the movie, and that's kind of her victim. And he picks up one of the figurines and he looks at it what's up with all these figurines, right? And he puts it back down, doesn't pay attention to the fact that they're all facing the exact same angle, right? So this one's turned. And so she walks in and she spots it a mile away, right? That this figurine is facing that way. And she's she just about loses her brain. And she's she's turning the little figurine. So, and it's those sorts of little things in the movie that's just well written. But there is also a lot of suspense, as you put it, because by about halfway through the movie, you're starting to see her little quirks, and you're starting to go, oh, she's gonna get mad about that. She's not gonna like that, right? And so you start to become very afraid as you watch that movie. It's stunning, just beautifully done. And so I'm trying to think of other movies that, because you just mentioned something, and you were talking about the lighting and then the slow rising to the face, and it's true, you see the bags under their eyes, and it is a very common, especially more cartoonish usually with the bags under their eyes. That's more of a cartoonish thing that I've seen.
Yes.
But that's very common, and it's all done with the lighting. You've bursted so many bubbles today. That's very funny. So let me kind of do a summary of everything we've talked about today. We've talked about this gizmo. Thank you for bringing this gizmo. Again, what is it called?
Sony FX3.
the Sony FX3. And is that this whole thing, or is that
That's literally just this camera
just that little thing? And can you take pictures with that as well, or is it just?
Yes, you can take pictures with it as well.
Fancy feast. Then what is that contraption, this rectangle?
This one is a monitor. This is because the camera, the screen down here is way too small to see what's going on.
Okay.
So we need a bigger monitor so we can actually see what we're getting in shot and frame at the same time. And
okay.
This will let us see the shot the way it's going to come out in post, because we can add like a filter, a LUT, and it'll add the coloring for it.
What's that word you keep saying?
LUT?
Yeah. What's that?
It's like a coloring filter for your videos.
Okay.
So like, you know how you go into your settings when you do like TikTok or Instagram and they let you swipe and you could change like a filter on it?
Right.
Well, there's certain color filters that somebody did with grading, so like skin tone, the background, the trees, and you can just take one of those quick, LUTs, which is what they are, as a filter, and pop it on there, and it'll color grade your stuff really quick so that you can see what it's going to look like in post.
LUTS?
Yes.
Okay.
LUT.
What is that? Does that stand for something, or how did they come up with that? What is that word? LUT? A LUT?
Can't. Lumimetric.
Oh, so it stands for something.
Like the lighting, the coloring in the film.
All right.
What you're affecting. I can't remember.
Lumens.
Like lumen.
Okay, so it has to do with lighting. That makes sense. Duh. Okay. Hello. I'm like, I don't think of these things until you mention it. Okay, fascinating. And then so this is for the microphone? This little.
Yes, there's usually you could plug a shotgun mic, or just like you have these lavaliers on. You can connect that to here too, and it'll record sound to the camera as well.
How interesting. So we talked about this gizmo. We talked about the film club through EPCC, which anybody can join. Don't have to be a mass comm major. In the film club, is there assigned projects, or is it just kind of open, like if you want to create your own movie, go for it. If you just want to watch.
We have a lot of projects, but we do get projects from actual other clubs as well. So if they have an event going on or a graduation, they'll reach out and they'll ask us if we have people available to videotape it or take pictures and set up like a stand so they could do graduation photos.
Oh, interesting. That's dangerous that you told me that, because now I'm going to be calling you guys all the time. Okay, very interesting. Now, the other thing that we were going to mention, let's see here, and I'm trying to remember. So we've talked about the film club, the awards in May. Tell me about that.
Oh, the festival.
The festival.
Yes, the Tejano Film Festival.
Tejano Film Festival.
From what I'm tracking, it's been, I guess, a tradition since way back for a while now, before I even started coming to EPCC. Right. And it wasn't happening for a while. I think the last one was back in 2020, and they had to cancel after that. Right. So this will be the first one coming back.
Oh, wow. Okay. And where is it located?
So this year will be on the Far East Side at Alamo Drafthouse.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to submit their film, they can there, and there's no fee to submit. But if they want to see their film on the big screen, they can. And that'd be a perfect time to invite your family, or if you wanted to have that happen.
Yeah. Okay. And so this is for the film club.
Yes.
Okay. So you have to be a member of the film club.
Not to submit.
Oh, not to submit. Okay.
No.
All
it's
right.
just because there's going to be a vetting process to see. There is a time limit. Like the movies can only be 7 minutes.
Okay.
And then after that, there'll be a vetting process after that.
Well, Christopher, I've learned, so I feel like I owe you money now. I've learned so much. I have enrolled in mass comm today. I've learned about cameras, shots per second, right? 24.
The frames, yes.
The frames, thank you. 24 frames per second. And how Days of Our Lives worked their magic in the early 90s. We've talked about making somebody look evil, which is now I'm starting to wonder why I'm surrounded by magenta. right? I'm starting to wonder, like, wait a minute.
Magenta, I guess, is more of a vibrant,
reddish.
yes, vibrant color.
Yeah, this is more purpley.
Yeah.
Yes. And we've talked about the film club and what brought you to it and the intro to Mass Comm. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Christopher.
Thank you for having me.
And yes, absolutely. And if you all would like to know more about either the mass communication program at EPCC, you can contact Alejandra Hinojosa or Michael Head and in Mass Comm, and you'll see their emails there at the bottom. And if you'd like to know more about the Tejano Film Festival, Mr. Gutierrez is a part of that film festival. You can contact the same folks and they can tell you all about it. Thank you, everybody, for joining me for another episode, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.